22 at 7 o'clock. We'll start with the roll call to my left.
Homer, City Council.
Dr. Joseph Ford, City Council.
Shelby Carcelari, City Council Member.
Ronnie Price, Mayor.
Troy Tabor, City Council President.
Tim Berry, City Council Member.
Mike Warrington, City Council Member.
Buck Buchanan, Police Chief.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Lance Onstadt, Assistant City Administrator.
Chad Russell, Fire Chief.
Rick Lance, Director of Public Works and Utilities.
Andrew Kovar in for JT Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director of Community Development.
Susan Renner, City Clerk.
Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator.
All right, and this time Brad Tuggle will lead us in the invocation. Sorry, I got a little tongue-tied, sir.
Let's pray. Our Father, we thank you for a beautiful day that you have created, another day of life. We're thankful for a new year. We pray it would be a year of safety for all of our first responders. We pray it would be a year of protection for all of our families against disease. And we pray it would be a year of blessing for our community, for all of our families. We pray a blessing and wisdom on this body, on the deliberations and decisions made here. We thank you again for all of those who serve, and we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, stand and join with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this time I'll open up the floor for a public forum. State your name, your address, and keep it short. Nobody? All right. Public forum closed. Acceptance of agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. All right, this time we're swearing in a new police officer, Robert Garland. I state your name.
I, Robert Wayne Garland II,
Do solemnly swear I will support
do solemnly swear I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the ordinance of the City of Andover,
and the ordinance of the City of Andover,
and faithfully discharge duties as police officer
and faithfully discharge the duties as a police officer
of the City of Andover, so help me God.
of the City of Andover, so help me God.
On my honor,
On my honor,
I will never betray my badge,
I will never betray my badge,
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself
I will always have the courage to hold myself
and others accountable for our actions.
and others accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution of the United States
I will always uphold the Constitution of the United States
and of the State of Kansas,
and of the State of Kansas,
my community,
and the agency I serve. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Lost my pen. All right, consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.8 as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Employees' health benefits, 9/1/2022 through 2023 employee benefit renewal.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Jayla Miller with IMA, who is our account executive, is here tonight to share with you the renewal information. And I will also mention that Chastity Page, your HR director, is present as well if you have any questions about City of Andover benefits separate and apart from what Jayla presents to you tonight.
Good evening, council members. Thanks for having me tonight. I am here to present the renewal for 2023. So starting with medical, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas released a renewal that was 11.6% increase from current overall premium. It's a total increase of around $131,933 and an estimated annual total premium of $273,832. Blue Cross Blue Shield's annual medical and RX blended trend, which is essentially their inflation factor, is around 8.3%. This is similar to what the past couple of years renewal trends have been. IMA did go out to market requesting proposals from the fully insured market, including United Healthcare and Aetna. Both carriers declined to quote due to being uncompetitive. Essentially, their manual rates were higher than where the Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal came in. They weren't going to be able to come in lower than where that renewal came from, which is why they were uncompetitive. So we also requested additional options from Blue Cross Blue Shield just to see if we could get any and created employee disruption. That 11.6% renewal was under budget. And so after several conversations, it was determined that in order to keep consistency for employees, the recommendation is to renew with Blue Cross Blue Shield with no changes for 2023. Any questions on the medical renewal? Okay, moving on to dental, Blue Cross Blue Shield released renewal rates that were a 0.7% decrease below current rates, which was an estimated decrease of $772. We went back and asked, negotiated with Blue Cross and got an additional relief of, so a final negotiated renewal of a decrease of 1.4%. The estimated annual decrease of $1,507. Total annual estimated premium of $108,700. We received additional proposals from Delta Dental of Kansas as well. After discussion, it was determined and recommended to renew with Blue Cross of Kansas to keep that consistency for employees as well. Any questions on the dental renewal?
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. You keep mentioning, trying to keep it consistent. So how much was the cost difference from Delta Dental?
Sure. Delta was actually a increase compared to Blue Cross this year when we looked at the comparison. And let me flip. There would have also been, so right now, currently your dental plan includes a orthodontia benefit that pays 100% up to the maximum, which is $1,500 per year. Under the Delta Dental option, that would have moved from 50-50. So that would have been for those that use that benefit, that would have been very much a disruption. When we look at basic, and then periodontics, endodontics, and the orthodontics age limit goes up to 24 right now under Blue Cross Blue Shield. Under Delta Dental, that age limit drops to 19. So really it's that orthodontia benefit because it's so rich, and plus with that decrease makes it beneficial to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Anyone else?
Okay. Looking at the life and disability, as well as the police and fire disability. Last year, for 2021, these products were placed with Cigna and are currently under rate guarantee for 2024. It's recommended to remain with those products through the current rate guarantee. And similarly with the age-banded voluntary life and AD&D, we moved those to Cigna last year. And so the recommendation is to remain with those products until the rate guarantee ends in 2024. And that brings us to our vision. So the Emeritus Vision Plan received a flat renewal with no changes for 2022. However, over the last several years, we have received feedback from both the employees as well as council to look for ways to enhance the vision benefits. And so we went to market this year. We received proposals from Emeritus, Surancy, and Aflac. After review of the options, it was recommended to move the vision coverage to Surancy. In doing so, we are going to enhance the benefit from $100 right now under the materials only to $150 allowance per year. We're also moving from one plan design option to two plan design options. Currently today, there is one materials only plan offered. We are now going to offer a materials only, which at that $150 allowance, we're going to offer a second comprehensive plan alongside of that, which will include a copay with an exam included. Should mention that the exam is free through the medical benefits, so you don't have to get that through the vision benefits. But it would also include copays for things like bifocal lenses, trifocal lenses, and things like that. So for those that would like those extra enhanced benefits, that option will be available for employees this year. So we're really excited about that. The rates through Surancy are under guarantee for 3 years.
You guys, Mr. Mayor, I have another question. Do you guys not look at like IMAD or VSP or?
We do, and they're pretty comparable. Because we looked at the Delta Dental offerings, that's why we looked at Surancy as well. Surancy uses the IMED Insight Network, so the same providers that are available there would be provided through Surancy. Okay, flexible spending account. This product was placed with New Synergy in 2019. It's under rate guarantee until 2024. It's recommended to remain there until the end of the rate guarantee. For wellness and health risk management, tobacco rates and non-tobacco rates will continue for the 2022 plan year, with those tobacco rates being 5% higher than non-tobacco rates. The Impact EAP plan received a flat renewal. It is recommended to renew as is and continue that. And so that is all of our lines of coverage. And so the recommendation is to renew with all insurance carriers and vendors as outlined in my comments.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Yeah. So is there an HSA plan as well or option?
No, because we don't have a high deductible health plan in place. All three medical options are all PPOs. So we just have an FSA.
Is there a reason for that? I mean, is it cheaper or the employees didn't want it?
We've looked at them every year and we've talked about them. I think we even looked at it this year. And I think there just hasn't been enough cost savings to look at it or really to put that in place. Also, we want to make sure we do enough education on the front end before we put that in place. Oftentimes we'll find an employee will sign up for a high deductible health plan because they see the premium difference, so less coming out of their paycheck, and then they get to their doctor thinking they're going to pay copay instead of paying the entire cost of the visit. And so we want to make sure we do enough to make sure that does not happen.
Thank you.
I would also like to mention that currently over half of our employees are on our lowest deductible plan, and less than probably a quarter are enrolled in our highest deductible. So going off of those numbers, the chance of having an even higher deductible plan, our participation levels probably wouldn't merit offering a higher deductible.
Thanks, Jesse.
That would also be something we maybe would want to consider as well if we would get like a very large increase, something where we really needed to try to look at some cost containment. A year we definitely weren't under budget. That would be something we'd want to seriously consider then as well.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Mr. Warrington, you have anything?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the insurance renewals for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas for medical and dental and the new contract with Surrency Vision as presented and authorize the mayor to sign such agreements.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. Taxable, let's see, 10-1, taxable industrial revenue bond series A to 2014. Redemption of bonds, Avita Institute project. Did I say that right?
Yes, and tonight I'm just handing things off to people. So we're fortunate tonight. Andrew Kovar is the attorney for Triplet Wolven Garrettson, who did all the heavy lifting on our side of this equation, and he's here tonight. So we're going to let him enlighten us on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. In 2014, the city issued industrial revenue bonds to finance the Aveda Institute on Andover Road. At that time, the city issued two series. A Series A that was the real finance mechanism. It was bought by Fidelity Bank to loan the funds to construct that. And a Series B, which was bought by the company itself, the Aveda entity itself, to represent their equity funds. That was, of course, done, and in connection with those IRBs, there was a property tax abatement that was granted on a sliding scale at that time. Aveda has come to the city because they have decided, for interest cost savings to refinance their debt with a new bank, Strive Bank. And rather than go through the IRB process, which wouldn't have much benefit to them, what they have asked to do is to pay off those Series A bonds, pay off Fidelity Bank, and then they'll get their own separate financing from Strive Bank on this piece of property. The Series B bonds, however, will stay outstanding, owned by the Aveda entity, to support that continued property tax abatement, which does last until 2024. But as I mentioned before, it's on a sliding scale. So I think they've got, they're paying a payment in lieu of tax of 75 to 100% until that runs out. And so the item that you have in front of you is a resolution of the city, because they're truly bonds of the city, authorizing the payoff of that Series A, and also authorizing the city, because through IRB structure, the city owns the fee title to the property. It authorizes the city to sign a mortgage to Strive, collateralizing that new loan with the land. And as we always do on behalf of the city, we've negotiated the terms of that mortgage. The city is not responsible for any kind of debt or covenant or obligation or anything like that. It's just that Strive could look to that property that's in the city's name if there were an issue with that debt. Happy to answer any other questions you might have about this.
Nobody?
I mean, Mr. Mayor, I don't necessarily have a question because we see it, but there's really no financial implication at all to the city, correct?
No, these are not debts of the city to begin with, and the borrower is going to be paying all the costs, including our costs for working on the city's behalf on this. So that's right.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt a resolution authorizing and consenting to the redemption of the city's taxable industrial revenue bond Series A 2014, the Aveda Institute project, authorizing the execution and delivery of mortgage and in favor of Strive Bank, and authorizing the execution and delivery of related documents.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. See Justin walk up there, he's ready to go. That's what I like, keep him rolling. Lease agreement, parking, 837 and 837 and 909 North Andover Road.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Back in November, staff received a site plan review committee application for the Rusted Rooster restaurant. generally located at 837 North Andover Road, just west of the City of Andover Police Department. The application was to for a building addition on the existing building. Staff reviewed the application materials and determined that the number of required parking spaces required for the addition were insufficient. The subject property currently provides 16 total parking spaces, which does not account for the employee parking. And employee parking is calculated as one parking spot required per employee. So they were just under their parking total requirement for the subject property. The application was reviewed by the Site Plan Review Committee at their meeting in December. And staff recommended that the applicant draft a parking license agreement for any excess parking on the subject property to be located on the neighboring police department property at 909 North Andover Road. So as you could see on your screens as well as in your packet, there are 5 parking spaces located on the southeast corner of parcel B, which is 909 North Andover Road. So the agreement calls for the parcel A property to utilize those 5 parking spaces should they need them. The Site Plan Review Committee recommended the site plan for approval on the condition that this agreement was approved by the governing body this evening. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I just have one question. Looking through the liability section, what if let's just say an officer parked their car there and something happened and they weren't actually a customer? Who would be liable?
I know that the applicant is liable for any of their vehicles that are located on parcel B, but are you saying that if a police vehicle was parked in one of those 5 designated spots and something were to happen?
I know it's an odd question maybe, but that's when things happen, right? Is odd things. So I'm just curious who would be liable for something that if it were to happen on that spot, if they were actually a customer, but they were a city, even a person in the public that was coming to this police station and decided to park there anyway.
Okay, so can you repeat your hypothetical one more time just to make sure I understand it? And then
Certainly. So the liability is Lissa's, right?
Mm-hmm.
For any of her customers or employees. But what if someone from the public or one of our officers parked there and then something happened? Who would be liable then for whatever happened?
So the requirement is that, I guess it depends on what it is that happened. So if she has a customer that's there and an accident occurs that would implicate somebody's general liability insurance, if it were her customers, then that's going to be looked to her under the terms of this this company under the terms of this license agreement. If it were a city police car and something happened there, then it might be on the city side. And again, I guess it depends on who the actor is that's causing the accident as well. That can further complicate where the liability might lie. But the idea is the city obviously has its own insurance and legal liability protections on its own property. And then we've layered on top of it this license agreement that says to the extent any of the people on the city's property are there for the purposes of this adjacent property, then if anything happens there, that they have their own general liability insurance that would cover that kind of thing.
I know it's an odd thing to even
It's
ask.
not at all. It's a very prudent thing to ask.
So excuse me, can I?
Yeah.
Just for a minute. So there's 2 different things there. I'm glad you asked the question, by the way. So Chief Buchanan, parking lots in generally are, stop signs are as bad as I hate it. There's a suggestion in the parking lot, right?
That depends on the right of way, because if like Dillon's, you have right of ways there,
Right.
so it's going to get down to that part as well. But it's going to be a civil matter between insurance companies.
So the city of Wichita won't even show up if you have an accident in a parking lot. But what I'm wondering is, to Troy's point, more specifically, is a slip and fall. That's kind of, where's that lie? if someone gets out of their car and slides halfway across the parking lot. I never thought of it till you brought it up. Is that us? How's that fall?
We also have that camera system there for like exchanges where people buy stuff online or job swaps or whatever. It's all recorded there in that same vicinity too. Does that encroach on that function as well, Chief?
It'll pick up that area. As far as police cars, we're definitely going to notify officers not to park in that area. But again, just like you said, maybe if it's a citizen that may park there, so that makes it a different situation. So, but officers are going to be told. Haven't spoke about this yet.
And it's worth noting that we let or however it works, there's sheriffs to park back there during the day, and so they can keep their cars there when they're going about their business. So it's not an entirely new thing.
I guess the second question or second part that I was thinking of would be if someone's parked there and they pull out to leave and then back into someone that's actually in our spots for the city, who's liable then because they're no longer on their property?
So if it's a car accident, of course, that's going to be covered by the automobile insurance of whoever the parties are involved.
Okay.
With respect to the slip and fall, because I think that's a good question. Liability starts on a slip and fall with the property owner, which in this case would be the city. And then we've required in this license that the Rusted Rooster keep their own insurance that names the city as an additional insured, so that if that happened in the course of, if it was one of their customers or happened in the course of their use of that property, then we could look to their insurance first.
Okay.
Cool.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
And just I think we already, Chief Buchanan, did you have any problems with the cross member agreement?
No,
Cross-party
that
member.
area is, since court moved years ago, we haven't had much issues or problems whatsoever that I've known of in the last few years. So I don't see a problem with it at all.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I moved to,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll say it.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the parking license agreement between 837 and 909 North Andover Road.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mr. I do have something to say. Justin, I want to just commend you, and I'm assuming others, the Site Planning Commission, because we all know that our site plan is kind of hard to deal with sometimes. And I just want to say this is amazing that we were able to work something out for the Rusted Rooster. And I would really encourage people to, in Andover, even think about coming to Andover, to come talk to us, come talk to Justin, the mayor, somebody, because we're willing to work with folks. It's like, this was a huge issue, and any other city, I bet, would have said, sorry, you can't expand. You don't have enough room. And we came up with a plan to, here, we got 5 parking spaces for you. So this is just a wonderful thing that I see here in Andover.
I think it was great to bring a solution to the table that, would help everybody. So
What these two gentlemen are so eloquently trying to say is Andover's open for business. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I have one comment.
There, go ahead, Mike. Mr.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. Would it be helpful for Rusted Rooster to put out 5 signs saying that this is designated parking for Rusted Rooster?
I think part of it, yeah, I believe is that part of it? You're going to designate that Rusted Rooster parking?
Put little signs up.
I don't think so, because it was only during their hours necessarily, and not when like the police or like the lodge, or not the lodge, but whatever that room is that you guys let like HOAs and go to, I think.
So the community is being used tonight. Sorry, it's being used tonight right now by a HOA group. So,
Okay.
But the time their hours are there, usually our HOAs use it later. So I really don't think it's going to be a problem. And even if it is, a couple of employees, if they have to, a day or two maybe, would park further down if they had to.
I know a couple of the employees park there now on a regular basis anyway, correct? Yeah.
And that's primarily employee parking, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
I would say, though, Councilman Warrington brings up a good point, and I think we've not done anything like this before. This is new for everybody, so I think we keep that idea in our back pocket, and if Lissa needs those spots and they are not being held, then I don't think the city would have any problem that there's signage that says during roosted hours, these are Rusted Rooster parking spots.
It works both ways. If you need to help And if we have issues, then we'll work it out. Okay? Cool. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. North Andover Road Improvement Project Agreement, Engineer Agreement Amendment Number 1. Les.
During the course of the design of the road improvements in front of the Andover High School, bounded basically by the Redbud Trail on the south and Ira Court on the north, Public Works brought to the table the need for some storm sewer improvements down closer to 21st Street. There's some minor street flooding that goes on there in the big storm events, and thought maybe some storm sewer could be added near 21st Street to alleviate that. Trans Systems took that work on, as well as some asphalt overlay, a little minor alignment change to the 21st Street intersection south of 21st, and an asphalt overlay of the entire project from 21st Street south to Redbud Trail. They've incurred some extra engineering costs to do all that work. It's several $100,000 work, and they're asking for an amendment to their engineering contract to cover that extra work that was outside of the scope of their original project.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
since no one's interjecting here, I'd make a motion, or I'd move to approve the First Amendment to the Trans-System North Andover Road Improvements Project 008N-0714-01 Engineering Agreement.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Official publications, designated city website as official city newspaper. 13-1.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have the resolution which will put forth the action that we started last September with our charter ordinance, where we talked about the city's official publications sometimes being missed in the newspaper. It might just make it a lot easier for staff and maybe even for our citizens to be able to view the public notices that we post. Planning and zoning posts quite a few. We post ordinances, we post some resolutions. It would just be easier we believe it'll be easier for our citizens to be able to view those things that need to be published. This resolution before you tonight will put that into action, but not until the 14th of February. And that's just allowing time for us to get the website set up, and we've talked about it. I think that it can be done very, very well, where the public will know what to go to look at, and hopefully they'll get to see those things that way.
It's getting harder and harder to find publications to do just that, so.
I can tell you that I have boxes that are about this big that we've always saved the newspapers, whatever newspaper we used. And probably 3, 4, or 5 years ago, I don't know how long ago, I could get 3 months worth of newspapers into that box that's about this big. Today, I can get all 12 months with the possibility of fitting another one in there if I wanted to. But it's just really social media.
So we'll be able to put, pardon me, because I'm kind of slow. We'll be able to put for the public to know that there's a hearing, or it's going to do everything that a newspaper publication does?
Yes, sir. And it will be just for the city's official publications. This will not be where citizens or organizations can have us
Right.
post things for them. This is only publications that we're required by law to publish.
And that's go ahead, Jenny.
I was going to speak up, and Andrew may wish to as well. There are some things that in statute say they have to be published in a newspaper of general circulation. comes to mind, I believe, our annual budget hearing, and potentially bonds. We're waiting on an opinion from the Attorney General. So there may be some things we still have to put into a newspaper of general circulation. But for the things that Susan's talking about, the vast majority of the things that we are currently publishing, this will work for. When it says that it just needs to be published in the official city newspaper, this will fill that need.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I said nice.
Oh, I was just worried about the legality of that notion that we're doing our own.
TWG's taking care of it, I think.
Well, I will be honest, it is a new theory. It is a new process that there are other municipalities in the state that are moving forward on it as well. And I guess what I'd say is, as city administrator pointed out, there may be kinks as we move forward. And so we'll just ask everybody to understand that if, we run into some unique situation or something that all of a sudden doesn't quite work right, we'll work to make it happen. But, it's a new thing and we're going to work our way through it.
Okay.
Is the attorney, may I ask, is the Attorney General not made an opinion at all?
A request has been submitted and it has not been, an opinion has not been given yet. So we don't have official guidance quite yet. So,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So just speaking of hypotheticals or whatever, so that 18,000 and the 19,000 that we did in 19 and 2020, we take that out of said papers, I guess what, earnings for the year, and they might say, hey, we're done with the paper. When you say general circulation, I believe was the term you used, what if we didn't go to the internet or the website, what would we then advertise or put that information in if we didn't have a paper?
The Wichita Eagle is
Oh.
a newspaper of general circulation. They're much more expensive, so we would prefer to do limited things, but they reach many more people. So that's why they cost much more for their rates.
Thank you.
And they're even having issues.
Well, and that's, I guess I was going to go with, if all the papers kind of are
Go
to
away.
the point where they're going away and going online, there's not, a lot I don't think we can do, right? I mean, has
I
to
would
go.
also add that effective the first of this year, which we weren't aware of at the time that we started this, that our local newspaper was going to have us begin doing the work, uploading, instead of just emailing them something and then they put it in the newspaper for us. We were actually going to be responsible for that. And I guess Paula George, who works at Triple Wolf and Garrett's, and I had spoke with her, and she knows how to use the system because there are other cities that have to do that. But it's like, so now we're gonna do our own work here, and then you guys are still gonna charge to print. So to me, minimizing what we're putting in the paper, it's a shame, but it's not our fault. It's just something that the world is, it's
Change of the
changing.
times.
Is there a cause with the web page part of it? Not really. Not any more than we're already paying. Or... Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt a resolution designating the city's website as the official city newspaper pursuant to the Charter Ordinance number 25 and Section 1-111, Chapter 1, Article 1 of the Code of the City of Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Mike, make sure I don't leave you out if you have something to say, all right?
Yes, I got you.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. 14, Public Works Purchase, 14-1 Central Park Playground Structure. And Daniel's gonna talk to us about that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We've got an exciting project here for you. Proposal. It's the replacement for our Central Park play structure. As you might remember, this is an action point from the Parks and Recreation Playbook 2030. It's a priority 1 item recommended that we tackle early on in the 10-year planning horizon. This project is to be paid for out of the Parks and Recreation Improvement Fund and had an initial budget goal of around $300,000. For this project, staff worked up a request for proposal We sent that out to 4 regional vendors, as well as posted to the city website per our policy. We had 5 respondents total. It is worth noting, though, that 2 of them, although expressing interest in the project, they were going to be unable to meet the deadlines that we had assigned to this project due to supply issue delays and similar problems. So we had 3 vendors submit complete proposals. We had requested 2 distinct concepts per vendor. So that gave us 6 submittals for review that staff and the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board went over. The RFP called for several specific requirements. We're looking for this structure to serve not only ages 5 to 12, which the current structure does very well, but also serve ages 2 to 5. We have a lot of usage from younger families, especially coming over from the library and so forth. Other requirements that we had assigned to this RFP was we wanted to work within the site that we have existing on the property. We'd like it to tie into the existing ADA access sidewalks right over there by the central restroom. We were requiring the full removal of the old equipment. We were going to recycle the existing EW, the engineered wood fiber, into the Central Park mulch trails. We would recycle any metal that could into the city recycling stream. We did call out for the relocation of the net climber. If you're familiar with that playground, it's a very popular piece. We've also had significant replacement parts put into that piece in the last 3 to 4 years. So there's a lot of life left in it. So we called out for that to be relocated to Village Park and be added to the inventory there next to the swing set. The vendor would have to add the safety surfacing and appropriate requirements at that site too. We did call for some inclusive design features and parts of this concept. We did also spec out a specific fall surfacing. You might be familiar with that. We've worked on some of these projects in the past. You can have a variety of those, everything from the engineered wood fiber to a loose rubber chip to poured in place and solid turf. All of those are important despite their differences in meeting certain fall standards based on the structures that you choose to install. But we did call out for forever lawn surfacing. It meets all of the fall requirements, safety requirements for any maximum height you'll find on this proposal. It's got a 15-year warranty, and we found through some research that it's more easily repaired than some of the other options we had at our disposal. Finally, we did call out to have the vendor perform an initial CPSI, just an initial audit and inspection of this, so that we knew we were meeting all of the industry requirements for the correct installation of the structure. About a month ago at the advisory board meeting, we went over staff with the advisory board. We settled in on one vendor, AFCO here, that they proposed a design using Landscape Structures playground product. We went through several exercises to kind of narrow down the desirable features. As you can imagine, we had multiple concepts up on the wall discussing some of the merits and attributes of all of those. A little bit about AFCO. We do not have any product installed in the inventory currently by them. They actually applied through the website process. They're in Lenexa. They've done several projects for USD 385, however. They've done projects up in Blue Springs, Missouri, Overland Park, some of the Kansas universities and so forth. We've got some basic 3D renderings here for you that give you a little bit of a sense of the structure. Some of the main features I think are worth noting. Obviously, the one that grabs your attention is the super Netplex tower and the belt climber. So that's the large column there in the off center of the image. That structure has an overall height of 24 feet and a maximum interior play height of 12 feet. So it'll be quite a bit of a more noticeable and exciting feature, I think, when families and kids pull up to compared to our existing site now. It does have two slides. The max height on this side, we got asked this question, is 12 feet. That's the same height as the spiral slide on the existing site. It looks smaller just because of the larger scale of the overall build, but the belt climber is interesting. It was the only submittal we had. Even we had asked for some designs that cater to inclusivity. This was the only singular major feature that we saw in any submittal that eliminated stairs as a point of access to get up and do above ground play. So that's kind of exciting. It's a kind of a commercial grade composite rubber belting that spirals up into the column. So even if somebody's wheelchair bound, but they have the upper body strength, they can get themselves up into that and participate off ground and up on the slides. We've got a couple of other features for the 5 to 12, the Omni Spinner and the Wheesaw. They also allow transfer use from wheelchair. Another thing worth pointing out is they do cater to a broader age group than a lot of features we see, even up to adults, so that adults can participate with youth on those features and share in the activity. We do have a 3-bay swing. I'll call your attention to that. It's an arch style architecture there. Same size as the swings we have there now, but the configuration of what's offered in them is significantly different. There is what's called a friendship swing. You can kind of catch a glimpse of that on the right-hand side of the graphic there. Both users face each other. It can be an adult and a child, two children, 2 adults, whatever the case might be. We don't have a feature like that now. It also has a couple of the molded bucket swings, both for the 2 to 5 and 5 and up. It does also have a couple of the standard belt swings that we're all familiar with. For the younger age group, we really wanted to up the offerings here at this site. We introduced 2 specific clusters on this proposal. One's called Smart Play Loft and Smart Play Motion, but those are the ones that are kind of on the next graphic. They're a little bit more visible. They're tucked behind on this one. Lance, you got the there you go. On the right-hand side of the graphic, those are the play clusters that are really aimed at the 2 to 5-year-olds. There's a lot of imaginative play features. There's some interactive panels and pieces to work on, shape association, colors, and things like that. The total number of components here, we were obviously looking to keep the play structure the similar size as what we have now. Obviously, it's a playground in high use. We had no intention to make it smaller. It's one of our most attended spots, but it's hard to quantify the actual number of components that are offered. I like to think of this one having 6 major clusters. The existing playground has 5, with a couple of standalone, like the Ladybug and so on and so forth. I do feel like, I think Rick would agree, we do have more activities and more points of interaction on this concept, even though the footprint is just barely smaller than what's out there now. The footprint is a function of a lot of things, fall clearances from certain heights, certain types of structures and so forth. But that's what the final diagram there in your packet is about, is the 2D rendering, bird's eye view of how the layout would go. We've recommended an earth tone color palette. Obviously, you can pick all kinds of colors, but we'd like for it to blend in well with the existing metal roofs on the shelter, the central restroom, the amphitheater, and the Central Park facilities look and feel. We did explore other color combinations for the surfacing. Green is obviously the cheapest by quite a bit, surprisingly. I think that just the sheer volume of the amount that's produced, but the color scheme that you're seeing in this rendering is what's would be delivered if you were approved. real quick on the landscape structures product themselves. They're, I think it's fair to say, an industry leader or an industry standard. The structures are made in Minnesota. It's made in the U.S. They use the 5-inch outer diameter support beams and structure and posts. Their warranties are complicated for these sort of things, but some of the best in the business. This is like 15-year for some of the major superstructure type things, and then it goes down for more wearable parts. They do use stainless steel hardware. They have 360-degree clamp compression style fasteners instead of direct bolt. We do have that arch style swing. Don't want to forget that. And I think that's a pretty good summary of the components. The final proposed cost, as depicted here in the rendering, is $328,374. This counts the relocation of the Net Climber 2 Village. It counts the complete removal of the existing structure, recycling, and the complete installation of the new. It's slightly over our goal of $300,000, but we worked on that. We've realized some savings in some other capital projects in the sign inventory projects for the parks, and we'll be able to absorb that extra $28,000 approximately over the goal. We thought it was really important to get a second small cluster in there for the younger age groups, and that's why you see it reaching over the budget a little bit on this one. The project lead time, the goal is to have everything done by May 15, ahead of the event season and before the summer school season. There's approximately an 8-week lead time on the product now. If we are able to approve and proceed with this here in January, we should see product middle of March, and then installation turnaround is looking at 5 or 6 weeks, depending on some weather, obviously, in the springtime. But we should be able to meet our goal of May 15 there for a complete project. I'd be happy to answer any of the questions you might have about the project, the requirements we put onto it, the feedback we got from staff and the PRAB, or whatever the case might be.
Mr. Mayor. Joe. I do have a question about, baby swings. I don't see any baby swings for little, like 3-year-olds, kind of that all-encompassing, kind of a circular swing that you typically see at parks. I know young families typically, at least I remember raising my kids, that was
A standard, sure.
a standard of going to the park, so I don't see those there.
Those can definitely be included. The age range there are 2 different styles of completely enclosed molded swings for ages that start to get into the youngest groups that you're discussing. If we felt we did want to go to one of those, that'll be very easy for us to change for literally a few dollars in position of one of those others, standard belt swings, for example. The friendship swing and the plastic molded ones are far more expensive, but those could be toggled in and out if we needed to meet that user group.
Yeah, I just remember using that quite a bit when my kids were young, so I just, that's a big deal.
Yeah, the 2 molded style, one is aimed at the 2 to 5 years, and one's aimed even at the 5 to 12 for those that need the extra upper trunk support and so forth. But I'd be happy to reach back out. I know it would be easy to do. They're super affordable.
What would it cost to add an extra bank on that swing set and put 2 of those there?
An extra bay, is that what you're asking about? I would have to look into that further, but it's going to be substantial for 2 reasons. One, the structure part may only be a few $1,000s, but you're going to have to add the fall surfacing footprint even larger by a couple hundred square feet. The fall radius on swings is quite large. You'll see that noted on the 2D rendering. That's those little red lines dotted out. Those are the clearances they have to maintain to other structures or the edge of the fall surfacing.
So quick question, as we see this, where am I standing at and looking at this direction?
So the amphitheater, okay, they're both the same. Okay, there's your 2D. This due north is up on this one. So the vendor parking lot is to the north. You would access the central restroom is missing. It would be in the lower left.
Okay.
And the rectangle off the sidewalk is the existing shelter, the hard sided shelter that we have.
Oh, perfect.
In that
Thank you.
3D rendering, the amphitheater would have been just in the background behind the tower and the swing bays. But we could definitely look into that, Mr. Forred, about the fourth bay.
I just know that it's a very popular attraction. I mean, that's what
Sure
you
it
take
is.
your little kids to, burn their energy off and get them tired so they take a good nap, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I'm with Doc because, I mean, I've looked over and over at this, and just the 2 single seat swings, it just doesn't seem enough. I mean, now, if you're telling me it's the same as what's over there now.
We have a 3 bay set up now, but it's configured differently for what's installed on those bays.
And Mr. Mayor, I have one more question, if I may. What are you doing with the existing structure? You're not just going to throw it away, are you? Or recycle it?
So the plan is to recycle large portions of it. The plan is
that bad that we can't move it to another park, or?
The original structure is about 13 years old, and major components of them have been changed out once already. The structure on site is not 100% original. Rick and I have worked the last few years, to make sure that we're up to date on inspections and things meet those requirements. Many of the plastic components, bushings, swings, the net climber have all been replaced. So that's one reason we wanted to relocate that net climber and save some of the life cycle use out of that still to Village Park. The cost,
the swings, can you not keep those swings and put them somewhere else?
they could be saved at a cost. You still have to then also be able to fund the proper fall surfacing at those sites. And that sometimes is one of the leading costs of these projects. If you look through the itemized invoice or bid, the surfacing is closing in on $100,000 for this site on a $300,000 project. Granted, that is the top of the line type product, but that's what we were kind of looking for here at this high use space right here next to the amphitheater. We could definitely write into the contract that we hold that product for future use.
Personally, it just seems like a waste to me now. It may not be. Personally, it seems like we could do something else with it, or we could sell it on Purple Wave or something besides just recycling.
You might get more for scrap metal than you would on
Yeah,
Purple Wave.
I don't know.
Mr. Council Member, the cost of the reinstall, when you have the companies come out and reinstall these and do all your certifications is moderately expensive. While these are metal poles, they still have a life expectancy and a lifetime. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think typically we figured it's 20 years on those.
Or 15.
Yeah, and so we're nearing that end time. So then you're going to put it up and you potentially have to replace the poles anyway. So we kind of felt like the cost, while they look great on the outside, we've had that come up on another swing set we had to replace because when we did our inspections, yes, and they weren't meeting the standards to be safe by today's
I don't see the
standards.
ladybug on here. That's my favorite thing in the park. Are we keeping that?
That could be saved. We could.
Mine too, Matt.
I get a lot of inertia
Now that
going
you mention
around,
it,
so.
I kind of favor that one too.
Oh my goodness. So on the same, I guess, line of questioning, we have a lot of communities or HOAs or even new construction that's happening. Would anybody be able to use it in their own parks that are the HOA parks, not the city ran anything?
I don't know if somebody wants to jump in on the liability issues too of donating.
I was just going to say, I think I feel more uncomfortable with this liability than the last liability we talked about with the parking lot. We're saying that we're at year 13 of a 15-year life, and then the city is going to pass on a piece of equipment that children utilize to play on in an HOA. I feel like that's not exactly the best situation for us to go in, but we can explore it. It just feels on the front end like that's a little bit.
I certainly understand your point. Yeah. But if a HOA wanted to take on the responsibility and they had people that could keep it up to date or update what needs to be, that's pretty amazing place. And we sell really, really old equipment on Purple Wave that would potentially be the same thinking, right?
Right,
Because
but it's not retained in our community and highly visible like the Andover Central Park Ladybug.
that's going to go to Ron's house anyway. So
I want the swing for my backyard.
No pictures.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I think one thing, actually, Mr. Mayor, you pointed out to me was this, the surface, Daniel, is called Forever Lawn. And one of the big differences there is you can push a wheelchair, I believe, on this, Mr. Mayor, you said. And right now we have mulch and you can't push a wheelchair on it, correct?
It's challenging.
So,
Different type of surface.
sorry, I didn't mean to say can't, but it's definitely not
This is
efficient.
amazing. I love this concept.
I like it. I think
My,
it's cool.
my personal belief, it's like, man, that just seems like such a waste to just recycle all that equipment.
I could re-engage the, I could re-engage Athco about a fourth bay. I'm guessing that it's going to be in the $15,000 to $18,000 range to accomplish a fourth bay, not simply because of the swing itself, but the
Surface, yeah.
increased footprint of the full. We could stick with 3 and reevaluate how we're using that real estate instead. This was, that configuration was their proposal recommendation based on the needs we communicated to them. Definitely doesn't mean we have to stick with that.
I mean, I would almost rather see those baby swings than the friendship swing, to be quite honest with you. That's
But here's the thing, Joe, and I would agree with you to an extent, but here's the thing about the friendship swings. It's rare that the friendship swing will give so it's rare that, pardon me, it's rare that these kids get an opportunity to do something at the same time. So the friendship swing, while it's called a friendship swing, is made for a handicapped child to swing with his brother or sister. And so you go to a park and it'll be all this or all that. This is a rare opportunity that the kids will be able to, like help a brother or sister get to the top of that doodad or set in a friendship swing. And that's something we do at the ranch. So one kid's always left out, so we started our summer camps just so that the kids that aren't special needs get to ride horses and understand what they're, so I understand what you're saying, but the friendship swing is so that the siblings can actually, it's a rare opportunity for them to be in the same thing.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I love that.
Thank you.
And what if we then ask the city to go back and try to find the other 15 grand then to add the fourth bay somehow?
I would rather do that.
What is, Daniel, I see this square cut out in the other, what is that square? Is that the bathroom, right below the swings on the right bottom side?
Bottom right.
Bottom right. There's that square. What is
That's
that?
so they're measuring the overall width and the overall length there. And then that square cutout is simply, it would go back to turf grass. That's the
We
border
could
of-
expand that to a fourth bay.
There is all kinds of room to expand it if we want to pay
I
for
mean,
it.
I'm with Doc. I mean, I think an extra bay, especially with the baby swing. I mean, but the kids love just regular old swings as well.
There, you'll notice, I mean, our existing site is sort of oval. Obviously with mulch you can do, there is some significant savings with
Cutting that
this
corner.
by staying in 90-degree type patterns and rectangular square patterns. But yeah, I think if we were to ask them to adjust this proposal, they would bump the border there to the north and it would stay consistent across there and a little bit to the south and make that room. I could try to get this, we also have timeline issues here too. I'll try to get a response from this vendor as soon as possible and then propose a new
Yeah,
concept.
because I would like this to be covered at a future meeting as well with what you are going to cut in 2022 to do this. And you can do that, but I would like that to be very clear what the financial plan is.
If we add, we have to take something from somewhere else, but
Right.
with that stated, I think this park will bring good visibility to our city because it's not normal, you know what I mean, that people want to go the extra mile to to include ADA, which is, which I'm glad that our city is that forward thinking. Rick, you have something?
Oh, I would just say that, to keep on the time schedule and so forth. I would, if we want to, we can look into that other bay, find out exactly what the cost would be by adding in the extra 4-lever lawn turf and the other bay and the other swings, and bring that back at another council member or council meeting for your consideration. But I would like to, at least get the authorization to go with this so we can start this order process.
I was gonna say, can we just approve this plus an additional 20 grand?
I'm not comfortable with that. And we have a lot of things on the horizon with regard to your parks department where costs are continuing to escalate. So if we are comfortable saying we can't come up with the money for the extra bay, so we're going to approve this tonight because this would be good enough, great. If we're not comfortable that this is good enough, then my recommendation would be you do not vote on anything tonight and Daniel gets with the vendor and we come back in 2 weeks.
Why is that, I guess? I guess that's my question.
Because I don't believe anyone can speak intelligently right this moment to tell me how much more money this is going to cost with the extra ground cover and the additional equipment and where they're going to find those funds from. And if I'm wrong, I'd be delighted to hear that, but I don't believe we have that plan.
Could we at least, sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question? Couldn't we at least make Jenny the motion tonight to approve this, and then couldn't we bring a change order, or we just did a First Amendment on the street? Could we just do a First Amendment on that when you bring an exact
if everybody
figure?
on the governing body is comfortable with this, may be the solution without the extra swings if we can't find where else we're going to come up with that money from.
And keep in mind,
This is already $28,000 over.
yeah, and these folks may not be able to get, I mean, I know it's not really though. It may be, at this point, it may be hard to get the extra material for what they've got a plan already set in motion. So that man, we can't even get furniture, and stuff like that. So I would rather approve this. And of course, council, I'll go with whatever you say, obviously, but I'd rather approve this and try to figure out if we can do that because they got to scrape up some cash somewhere and it's other people's money. So,
Mr. Mayor?
That's good. Yes, sir.
I move to accept the bid proposal from Athco LLC for the Central Park play structure removal and new play structure installation in the amount of $328,734.
Second. With the caveat or whatever we want to say, but I would like to see how much it would cost to do another bay.
Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
He said a caveat. That's not really an
No.
amendment to a motion at all. So do you want to add that as a?
I mean, I think it just needs to be known,
Yeah.
Daniel and Rick,
Yeah, I don't.
that we're interested in the. Right, so I think they would bring in an amendment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're interested, bring an amendment, and then we can discuss that, right?
Correct.
All right. Mike, are you still with us?
Yes, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm just checking on you, buddy. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, council. This is important to me.
Thanks, Daniel. That was awesome.
14-2, street sweeper bids. And Rick will talk to us, right?
Mr. Mayor and Council, not quite such a pretty thing here, but it's one of the things that helps keep our community looking nice as a street sweeper. It's very important. The current model we have is a 2008, and I don't know that we should keep them this long, and we will evaluate that process going forward, and maybe we will put them on a sooner rotation than 14 years. However, that's where we're at right now. We're on a 14-year rotation in this one. The staff has been preparing for a couple years for a purchase. We were saving, trying to get the money acquired up for this purchase. And so they had been evaluating for several years, different models and doing demos. And I believe they either demoed all these or near all these units at some point. And I know In this particular, the lowest proposal on this was from Butcher for a city cat, and they actually demoed that particular unit twice because it just happened to come through. You know, these guys will bring them through on cycles and stuff and call and say, would you like a demo? And of course, knew we were interested in one, so we'd say yes. And then when our RFPs went out, we sent our RFPs out to 7 different vendors, and 4 different vendors submitted responses, with 1 vendor submitting 3. We scaled them based on not just price, but also on features, and gave a point system to the features that were included. The biggest difference between this unit and our current unit, was the Pelican Elder, is that that unit is a mechanical, so it uses a broom to sweep the stuff up off the street onto the hopper. And this unit and a couple of the other units were either vacuum or regenerative air. Regenerative air basically is similar to vacuum, as it pushes air down on the ground, dislodges it. And then when it sucks the air back up, it sucks the material into it. Similar to the vacuum type system, I guess is the best way to describe it. This unit is considered to be a compact unit, so it's a little narrower than our existing unit, but the brooms go out, and that's what makes it work. It also has several options that we really liked, which is a 3rd broom. It's kind of a weed broom. You can get it to go down and get the weeds out of the edge of the curb lines and stuff like that. We have a wandering hose on this unit. Storm sewer inlet, lift the lid off, and if it's full of leaves or debris, we can clean it out with that hose and vacuum it out. Right now, our only option to do that in a safe manner is to have our wastewater department come and do that. And that unit, the way it works, is really not designed to pick up fines. It's designed to pick up large stuff. So it doesn't work real well, but it's the best we have. This will be much better at that. And this also happens to have a 4-wheel turning. One of the features of this, since it is a compact unit, it'll still do a full lane width, but we can also utilize it on our multimodal trails that we don't really have. Right now, our best option is to broom them, which is okay, but we're just dislodging that material and putting it somewhere else. This way we can actually pick it up. We could run it on, for example, our concrete portion of our Red Bud Trail and other 10-foot wide trails. This unit's price, this company is not interested in a trade. Right now, there's a Elder Pelican model that's 2 years older than ours on Purple Wave. It's not due for a few days yet on the last of it, so usually those things shoot up to the last minute a little bit. I think it's at 17,000 right now. So we're kind of hoping if we Purple Wave it, we can get somewhere between 20 and 30,000. We're kind of hoping we can sell it somewhere between 20 and 30,000. There is one smaller city in the area that was looking for an older used unit. Should you guys approve this, we'll contact them and see if they're interested in purchasing it and see what they would be interested in paying outright for it. Purple Wave is a no reserve bid auction, so sometimes you don't get much, So we think we would get somewhere between 20 and 30 with this unit coming in at $208,968. If you add back in that, say 20,000, that puts us about 40,000 under our budgeted amount, which helps us drastically when we put that back into our street equipment reserve fund, because we have a lot of large purchases coming up in the near future that we're trying to save up for. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to answer those.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Just a couple questions, and then sell it on Purple Wave for $25,000. Could we then say we could use that money for I know you're laughing at me, but I mean, is that something that we could do, or is that how it works? Could we do that? And
If Rick would stop asking for stuff in all his departments, sure, but the street department probably has needs too, and I think you were alluding to those a little bit, some of your capital needs coming up.
I don't have enough money right now to program my capital needs in that department. We're already running behind. We just have used some of our equipment longer than I would like to, and we're going to try to get out of that rut It's going to take time and it's going to take some financing. And, you know, we've got a plan and we're getting ready to implement. Hopefully later this year, you'll see some software come along to help us better plan and more data-driven decisions on this. But I would be hesitant to rob the street equipment reserve fund for the park fund. I believe is where you were headed, if I'm correct.
If I had my ruthers, I would rather sell it to one of our neighbors than put it on Purple Wave. You know, I know we could make more money on Purple Wave, but if one of our neighboring cities could use it, it'd be.
And you could make more money on Purple Wave, but you could also make less,
Yeah,
you know,
you
because it
can.
just depends who's in the market for a sweeper at that time when you're bidding it to. So it would be my druthers to sell it outright if we can find a local city that could utilize this piece of equipment. Our staff has done a remarkable job, in my opinion, maintaining it. So it's very well maintained for its age. But all the vendors, really, when we talk to them about trade-ins, weren't going to give us much, because if they take it in, they're going to go in and change out all the hosing and all that kind of stuff to bring it back up before they would sell it to somebody else, where, you know, we're not planning on doing that.
So did I hear you correctly saying it could do the Redbud Trail concrete section?
Yes.
Okay. The follow-up question is, they're heavy.
Yeah, that's a 6-inch concrete structure that's on top of a compacted base. So you build some streets that way. I mean, they're rated for some weight. Now the sweepers are somewhat heavy depending on how much load you got it and stuff. These do have a 7, I'm going to get the number right. It's wrong. It's 7+ cubic yards of storage. So if you had that completely full of wet debris and stuff, it would get fairly heavy, you know, and you had to load it with your water and so forth.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Is there a certain value, Rick, that we put on this street sweeper as far as maintenance with like the sewers and stuff? I mean, since you mentioned lifting the manhole cover part and sucking that out, is there a value that we place on this particular piece of equipment?
So here's a good chance for me to have a little education seminar on stormwater quality as per our requirement from our stormwater permit. We are required to sweep the streets, and that is a water quality requirement in our current permit. And what we miss, because we don't get there fast enough or whatever, sometimes ends up in the storm drain inlets. We can vacuum that out, but a lot of people don't clearly understand when you talk about storm sewer and sanitary sewers, these are two totally separate items. The storm sewer system dumps into our streams and rivers, ends up in our lakes, and goes on out into the streams, ends up in our region, the Gulf of Mexico. The sanitary sewer runs down to our wastewater treatment plant, and then we treat that water and we release it at a higher quality than what's probably actually in the creek when we dump it out to start with. So, you know, there's a lot of emphasis on keeping the streets clean and so forth, but we would not use this particular unit on the sanitary sewer side, but we would use it on the storm sewer side of our system. If I made that clear enough, did I answer that?
Yeah. So there is a value. It's not just we're polishing asphalt and it's actually doing something for us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of value to this. Most people that ride motorcycles will tell you that they really like street sweepers. And people that have to go along after somebody, and we don't use a lot of salt or sand in our process now. We've evolved away from that. We use mostly on our arterial roads and our collector roads. We mostly use salt in our process, because the sand, you dump it and then you have to vacuum it or sweep it back up. And then when we do that, we have to treat it as a hazardous material. It has to go to the landfill. But where we do put some down, which is in some residential areas and so forth, we have to sweep that back up, because cars pick those up and throw them up into windshields too and stuff too.
And that to Rick's point, the salt adds to the longevity of the sweeper and everything else involved, you know, because sand is obviously hard on everything it deals with, you know, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the purchase of the street sweeper from Butcher Municipal, Mooresville, North Carolina, in the amount of $208,968.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. I think Mike's frozen, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry.
My computer is frozen too.
Mike, you there?
Poor guy.
But good luck. I think he froze. I was waiting to hear him say. All right, this time we'll go into executive session, land acquisition KSA 75-4319B6.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
One, you said 6-0, so if Mike didn't vote, that should be 5-0, right? Or,
I didn't hear him, so yes. I was listening the rest of the time, but I couldn't hear him that time.
no, you're fine. I move to recess into executive session for preliminary discussions relating to the acquisition of real property per KSA 75-4319B6. Session to include governing body, city attorney, city administrator, community development director, and assistant city administrator. The opening meeting will resume at 8:37.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
My fault.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
I move to come out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to authorize the Director of Community Development to offer John and Phyllis Galbraith the just compensation with administrative adjustment to purchase the street right-of-way and temporary construction easement for parcel R23223 for the 159th Street Improvement Project.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to authorize the Director of Community Development to offer Jeffrey and Lynn Greenberg the just compensation to purchase the street right-of-way and temporary construction easement for parcel R23224 for the 159th Street Improvement Project.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 15-2, apparent, golly. 15-2, attorney-client privilege KSA 75-4319B2.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to recess into the executive session for the consultation with the city attorney pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. The session is to include the governing body, fire chief, city administrator, and the city attorney. The open meeting will resume at 8:55.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
There he is. He's back. And he's gone.
Sir.
I moved to come out of executive session.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Oh, shit. We don't have nothing else to do.
Member items, sir.
Right.
Remember, I was waiting for a motion, man. I kind of froze up. So member items. Anyone?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
while I didn't do my best job and Mike didn't either at the disc golf tournament, there were 83 people that were in it. And then there were several support. It was one of the most attended ones in our area. So that's very exciting. And obviously all the work that's been done on it, it just shows how well of a job you guys did on that. It's great. And then obviously the new bridge is exceptional. Oh, there's Mike.
It is exceptional. I went and looked at it. I caught somebody with the initials MW out there practicing, by the way.
Before or after?
Before.
During.
That's funny. That's all I got.
Anybody else?
I am looking forward to the Andover Central basketball game this Friday. I think that's going to be a good time.
Be a good
So
game.
that's going to be a good rivalry. It always is.
I'm just happy, Mayor, that we could help a business tonight, that was in need. We have the UDM to provide us with guidance and stuff, and there was a way for staff and the city to get with that business owner and help out and come to an agreement. I think that's awesome. So, thank you, staff.
Anyone else?
Daniel, you had a great presentation on the park stuff, so I appreciate that. Thanks, Rick. Everybody who presented tonight.
The school board is meeting next Monday at 6:30 at the CAPS building to discuss the COVID contact tracing and some of their protocols. So if anybody is interested in that, next Monday at 6:30. Last night's meeting was pretty routine, nothing major, just approving new office furniture for their new district office. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else?
Man, I tell you what, supply chain. Joyce and I went to try and buy a couch and like a love seat on Sunday or whatever. Thought it was going to be kind of easy. Made our decision that fitted our budget. Go up to the guy. Yeah, that'll be 26 weeks. And I was like, I guess I'll just maybe wait till the next July to shop for this and like maybe hit a 4th of July sale. So I can just only imagine, Daniel brought it up a little bit in the supply chain, at work in my, I guess, personal business life. I went to check on bags, right? I've got our name on our bags for shopping materials and stuff that we, put customer stuff in. And my order hadn't showed up and it had been about 8 weeks, which was normal. And so I called him. Oh yeah, that went from 8 weeks to 16 weeks now for ordering that stuff. So it's just the smallest things that you wouldn't even think about. You're like a bag that probably someone throws away that I have, our name printed on or whatever. 16
Plastic.
weeks.
It's all plastic. Oh, my plastic's hard to find.
Yeah. Recycle it.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to remind everybody, I did send an email today, but the staff appreciation, which is really an employee appreciation, a volunteer appreciation, our elected officials appreciation, we appreciate everybody. It's been postponed. It was supposed to be this Saturday, but due to the uptick in numbers and quite frankly, the number of employees who are unable to attend due to current illness, we'll postpone it, but we won't cancel it. We'll come up with another day and time and get that to you soon. And your city clerk, Susan Renner, has done a lot of work to get us to this point, and she did a lot of work today quickly to pivot. So I would like to give her kudos for that.
And Jenny and I talked about this today. I know more people personally that have COVID now than I've known all together in the last 2 years. And while it's doesn't seem to be as detrimental to people, man, it's everybody's touched by it. So we just sat and talked, and I said, man, and Jenny and I agree on it 100%. The last thing we need is 100% of our workers in the same building getting this crud, whatever it is. So I hated to postpone it because I was looking forward to it as well, but maybe we can do it more better. later, you know what I mean? So, but, to the extent you can, man, take care of your handful out, correct? And, we're all experiencing it, and I'm telling you, it's I mean, just, I have not known this many people personally at one time that's had it. I don't think I've known this many people altogether, but my circle is a lot
A
smaller.
lot of people are getting it.
So take care of yourselves and we'll get through this just like we do everything else. So
I did want to mention one thing that I told my son I'd mention. Every year, every high school chooses a junior class to represent for the Schooner Mate for Wichita River Festival. And my kid got accepted to be the Andover Central Schooner Mate for the River Festival. So.
Schooner Mate?
Schooner Mate, yeah. So
That's cool.
I told him I'd mention it. Baxter Berry.
You tell you I saw him bowling. the other
No,
day?
you didn't.
Yeah, he was there. I was
Right.
there with Chad. Right there.
I do. Joe kindly reminded me I should probably say that the Andover location of Walnut Valley Packing is open. Yay. After a long time of supply issues. They are open and check it out because it's pretty cool in there.
it's
No bias
very-
here.
It's very cool. And I'm glad they're glad they came into our community because it's a
Ghost
big deal.
pepper summer sausage.
So, go, man, I bought some.
It's good, bro.
Son.
I'm telling you.
It's hot, but it's also very well flavored.
It's flavor. That's what I was gonna say. It doesn't just have the name, it gives you a taste. It's a spice. I mean, it's spicy, but
And they
man,
sell
it's good.
and they sell grizzly boogers and
Burgers.
burgers.
He said boogers.
And it's not, and so I asked the stupid question, where are y'all getting the grizzly bear meat from? And Shelby's very nice husband told me it's for the Butler Community College, Mr. Mayor. So support them because they support our community from here to El Dorado to Winfield, Augusta, fine city. So it's not grizzly bear, it's for the college.
Show me the meats.
All right. Can I get a motion to?
Mr.
adjourn?
Mayor, I'd move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
Oh, tell Dana thanks, or Rick, or Dana did it, right? So whose idea was it though to give it to us?